India is still furious at the Trump regime and the United States. We covered this last week, and I thought and still think the American media is giving this zero attention. They just spew Trump propaganda when Trump says, oh, India loves us and India definitely wants to do a deal with us. India feels deeply disrespected by what the Trump regime is doing, and there's a few major areas that it's important that you know. And again, this coverage is just not happening in the United States. It's why I'm proud of the Midas Touch Network to deliver news like this. So there's a few areas where India is pissed. Number one, Donald Trump continues to take credit for the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. He says it over and over again. Most recently, he said it when he had South African President Ramaphosa in the Oval Office. Trump said, I'm the reason why that happened. Trump was not the reason why it happened. In India, they feel very strongly the reason why it happened was that the Indian military forces did a successful operation, and then Pakistan came and requested that a ceasefire happen, that it was purely a bilateral discussion, and by Donald Trump taking credit and saying that the reason the ceasefire happened was because Donald Trump dangled trade in front of India. It's deeply disrespectful. Another major area that is pissing the people of India off and the government is this crypto deal that Donald Trump's family did with Pakistan. Donald Trump's family is 60% owners in this World Life Liberty crypto thing, and they did a crypto deal with the Pakistan government about 6 days after the terrorist attacks in Kashmir. One of the other things that's pissing off the people of India is that Donald Trump continues to lie about the status of trade discussions and negotiations with India, and the Trump regime makes it sound like India's begging for a deal and India is so desperate to do this deal that they're just going to give the Trump regime everything. And the people of India are like, we're going to need some concessions as well. And you unilaterally impose these 25% tariffs or 26% tariffs on us. And that's unfair. If you want to do a deal, you got to respect the sovereignty of the people of India. One of the more recent things also that's pissing off India is that Donald Trump threatened Apple, and he's been threatening them over and over again, and Tim Cook saying, do not build factories in India. And India's like, what the heck? Build factories in India. We've already had discussions with Apple. 15% of iPhones are already made in India. Apple had committed to making 25% of their iPhones. And, you know, the interesting thing there is that the big iPhone manufacturer, Foxconn, doesn't really seem to give a crap about anything that Donald Trump says about iPhones building manufacturing bases in India, because Foxconn is continuing with its plans to build more factories in India. And again, it just shows you how feckless Donald Trump has become. But the people of India are like, stop threatening Apple and telling them not to build factories in India. Another major aspect that's pissing off people in India is Donald Trump's attack on American universities. And you may be saying, well, why does that matter? Why does that impact India? Well, if there are hundreds of students, foreign students from India with visas who study at Harvard University, who are now psychologically tortured and feeling horrible. They don't know, are they going to graduate? They've invested a lot of time. They don't know if they transfer out of Harvard to another school. Is Trump going to do this to another school? They viewed the United States as a beacon for international students to study, and Donald Trump has put their lives into complete and total turmoil. And so those are the main issues that are really pissing India off. I watch a lot of India TV right now. For example, I've been watching Vantage by Palki Sharma. I also read India Today. I've also watched a lot of other programs on First Post. I've watched the Indian Express and other things to try to absorb what's happening in India. I try to listen to what students from India and Harvard have to say, because I think giving you an international perspective is very, very, very important here. I'll remind you just what Donald Trump's post was from this week when he said, I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the United States will be manufactured and built in the United States, not India or any place else. If this is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And Donald Trump's threats caused the stock price of Apple to plummet. They lost $80 billion on that. And while the Trump regime is claiming that they want to negotiate with India, think about the message that sends to India's negotiators when Donald Trump is basically threatening that manufacturing plants can't be built in India while they're trying to negotiate a trade deal and trying to figure something out there. So let me go through with you some of the data points right now as well. So as I mentioned, one of the programs that I've been watching lately is Palki Sharma, her program Vantage. She's the managing editor, and she doesn't mince words in her reports. You can check her out on the First Post YouTube channel. But here's what she has to say about Donald Trump continuing to try to take credit for the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, which he had nothing to do with at all. She does not mince words. Play this clip.
India's position: Pakistan sponsors terror and it will have to suffer the consequences. And while India sends this message to the world, someone else is trying to steal the mic. I'm talking about US President Donald Trump. India and Pakistan decided on a ceasefire, but the announcement came from Donald Trump. And since then, he's been telling a lie, repeating it on loop, that he stopped this conflict.
On Saturday, my administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan, ending a dangerous conflict of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons. Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan, and I used trade to a large extent to do it. I don't want to say I did, but I sure as hell helped settle the problem between Pakistan and India last week, which was getting more and more hostile.
And Trump said it again yesterday to the South African president that he mediated the ceasefire.
Doing a big deal with India, we're doing a big deal with Pakistan, and I said, what are you guys doing? You know, somebody had to be the last one to shoot, but the shooting was getting worse and worse, bigger and bigger, deeper and deeper into the countries, and we spoke to them, and I think I hate to say we got it settled, and then 2 days later, something happens, and they say it's Trump's fault, but Pakistan has got some excellent people and some really good, a great leader. And India is my friend, Modi. And he's a
mutual friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Mm-hmm. And I called them both, and we just did something good.
Yes, he's still not giving up. India has fact-checked him on more than one occasion, but Trump won't let it go. It's like a broken record. Today, India's External Affairs Minister debunked Donald Trump's statements. S. Jaishankar is visiting Europe. Earlier this week, he was in the Netherlands. He was asked about US involvement in the ceasefire, and Jaishankar had just one thing to say. The US was in the United States, meaning Washington had no role to play. And it's something that India has been saying from day one. India hit terror camps in Pakistan on May 7th. Pakistan hit back. That's when India struck their military bases. A humble Pakistan sued for peace. On May 10th, their army sent a message to India. They were ready to stop firing, and New Delhi responded accordingly. That is the story. That is how the ceasefire came about. The US was informed, as were many other countries. None of them is claiming credit. But Donald Trump wants to be the hero in the story. India won't have it. There is no room for the US in this conversation. The Kashmir issue is bilateral. Operation Sindoor was not about Kashmir. It was about Pakistani terrorism. India will not tolerate it. And when it comes to national security, India will write its own script. No one, not even Donald Trump, gets to edit the ending.
And here's Palki Sharma from Vantage talking about how Donald Trump is making a trade deal with India very difficult. But one of the things she also points out, and I want you to all be aware of this, is all of the other trade deals that India has actually made with other countries throughout the world, in Europe, in Asia, and elsewhere, and how the threats that are coming from Donald Trump that are really hyped up here in American media, it's not going to hurt India as much as Trump thinks. It's definitely going to hurt India, but India is diversified. And the way American media presents India as like, oh, India should just be, grateful that any type of deal happens. India is like a very proud country who cares deeply about their sovereignty. And so they feel very disrespected by the type of rhetoric coming from the Trump regime. Here's Palki Sharma explaining that point. Here, play this clip.
To discussing non-trade barriers as well. But it expects concessions in return. And on this front, New Delhi's priorities are clear. It wants to protect the labor-intensive sectors, industries like textile and leather. India is seeking concessions for them. It also wants to secure some sensitive sectors like agriculture and dairy. For these, India could push for a quota or a minimum support price. The best-case scenario would be a zero-tariff trade regime. But there's a roadblock. The Trump administration cannot unilaterally bring down tariffs. For that, it needs approval from the US Congress. That is the American Parliament. They must approve. And that would take time. If this deal goes to the US Congress, it won't be signed anytime soon. So India wants to keep it simple. India's ask from the Trump administration is this: just remove the 26% additional tariffs, the ones that Trump imposed in April. Remove them. That's the ask. An interim deal, no congressional approval, and no delays. Just a fast and focused agreement that gets both sides across the finish line quickly. Because both India and the US want to win. So this should not be a tough sell. And yet it's not done till it's done. So we should prepare for all scenarios. What if the deal does not happen? What if they do not meet the deadline? What happens then? The prospect should not worry India too much. That is the assessment of ratings agency Moody's. They have released a new report. It says India is better placed than most emerging economies. Trump's tariffs may slow down growth, but the Indian economy should be able to absorb the shock. India has a strong domestic market. It has a low dependence on exports and robust growth driven by internal factors. In fact, Moody's says even if the US imposes tariffs, India won't suffer significant economic damage. That should be encouraging. At the same time, resilience cannot be an excuse for stagnation. India does not want to just survive this. It wants to expand its trade. And for that, it is looking beyond the United States. India is negotiating with a wide range of countries. Some deals have already been signed. India has deals with more than 10 countries and blocs, including Japan, South Korea, the UAE, and Australia. Recently, we sealed an agreement, a trade deal with the UK. New Delhi will cut tariffs on 90% of British goods. In return, 99% of India's exports to the UK will face no duties. Similarly, talks are on with the European Union, New Zealand, Oman, and Israel. So India has not put all its eggs in the American basket. It is building a network, a shield against Trump's uncertainty. If the US agreement comes through, it will be a boost. If it doesn't, India is building options.
Now, here is a program that I watched from India Today, where they talked about the Trump regime revoking Harvard's ability to enroll international students. And India Today approached this from the perspective as well of the students from India who have been studying at Harvard, whose lives have been turned upside down. Here, watch this.
I'm still trying to actually grapple my head around this. In the shortest of the terms, in the shortest of the time, I think one of the major impact will be students who might not be able to get admission in other universities to carry forward their degrees. They might have to actually leave the US. In the longer term, I think it has many aspects. It has many things that will actually have to do with the reputation of Harvard, US as a safe haven for taking really great education in the world. It might actually have a domino effect, by other universities actually towing the line and following the diktat, I would say. And it will definitely have a lot of impact on the international relations as well.
For Indian students, this decision has caused academic chaos and emotional distress. Many are currently midway through high-stakes degree programs at Harvard's law, medical, business, and engineering schools. Those unable to transfer risk having their F1 or academic student visas invalidated, which could abruptly cut short their academic journey in the United States.
they're going to lose their legal status unless, again, the Homeland Security reinstates the FCVP certification. So, only opportunity or only way out for them from this is to change their university and get enrolled and in universities which yeah, again, whatever options they have available right now, like any kind of university that they can enroll in, which would allow them to hold their legal status, or yeah, that's their only options.
As Harvard prepares its legal and institutional response, the global academic community is watching closely. For hundreds of Indian students and scholars, the coming weeks will determine whether their American dream continues or ends abruptly.
And here you'll see that here's how India is responding to Donald Trump's threats against Apple. And India has assured its people that Apple will continue to invest in India, getting that 15% of iPhones being built in India to the 25% that India and Apple are really trying to do. And India is saying, you know, look, Donald Trump's rhetoric is Donald Trump's rhetoric. He's the boy who cried wolf at this point. We just have to be steady and stable and focus on what our agendas are. And we're not really focusing on, you know, his social media posts at this point. It's just kind of noise. Here, play this clip.
Government sources on the Trump comment on Apple reveals that India offers the best facility and talent for setting up such plants, and India is sure that Apple will see profits over any pressure from the Trump government. Sources further said that India will also explore other sectors, countries and players in the field. My colleague Pallavi is with us on the phone line. Pallavi, we know that Trump is transcending to a different level now, threatening Apple CEO Tim Cook. Now, what Indian government is saying at this point?
See, first of all, Arun, of course, the Indian government is worried because Apple for now has opened 2 plants and the Apple production in the Indian plants have been really increasing and the productivity is also increased, and it also, as we all know, generates a lot of employment and also sends out a message to other foreign investors that India is capable of and is being looked forward as an attractive destination for investment. So Mr. Trump's comments, Donald Trump's comments certainly came as a setback. However, top government sources are telling us that we are not too worried because the American system is such where the business lobby is not going to work under pressure from the Trump administration. At the end of the day, Tim Cook is a businessman. He's going to look at his profits, and India offers favorable options in terms of talent, in terms of infrastructure, and also in terms of generation of the Apple phones and iPhones, and it's going to work out to be cheaper for him. A 25% trade tariff is huge. Even as we speak, the Commerce Minister is there, so there will be those backroom negotiations, but we have been, as a matter of tariff policy planning, we have begun to explore newer destination alternatives as well, but hope is not yet given up.
Many thanks, Pallavi, for this update.
And then here, as I mentioned earlier, you'll see this is from the Indian Express. Despite Trump's warning, Apple supplier Foxconn is moving ahead with its investment in India. Here, play this clip.
Just days after US President Donald Trump reportedly asked Apple CEO Tim Cook to not produce in India, Apple's key manufacturing partner Foxconn has signaled otherwise, and in a big way. The Taiwanese electronics giant is moving full steam ahead with a major $1.5 billion investment in India. In a filing with the London Stock Exchange earlier this week, Foxconn confirmed it will invest $1.49 billion in Yuzhan Technologies India Private Limited, which is one of its subsidiaries. This money is expected to fund a new display module manufacturing plant in Tamil Nadu, which is a state already central to Apple's growing manufacturing presence in India. While Trump's comments may have raised eyebrows, Indian officials aren't overly concerned. A senior government official said supply chains don't reorient themselves overnight. Companies like Apple make these decisions after months, sometimes years of planning. one comment won't reverse a global strategy. And that strategy clearly includes India. Last October, the Tamil Nadu government approved a 13,180 crore rupee, which roughly translates to $1.6 billion project by Yusan Technologies in Kanjipuram, around 80 kilometers from Chennai. Foxconn's new investment appears to be earmarked for that very plant. Apple currently produces around 15% of its global iPhone output in India. The company is targeting an ambitious 25% share in the coming years, which is part of a broader shift to diversify its supply chain away from China.
Well, there you have it, folks. And again, I wanted to be very diligent in giving you that perspective. Go and look at the sources that I looked at. Because again, when I'm doing a report on India, I want to see what these sources from India are actually saying. I've also learned that at the Midas Touch Network, we have a lot of people from India who watch the Midas Touch Network. We also have a lot of Indian Americans who watch the Midas Touch Network. I saw that in our last video, who appreciated us giving the perspective here. And so I try to do that. I try to share the perspectives after really studying what's going on in the countries. I try not to give it an American-centric oversimplification. I try to really get deep and understand who the voices are to give our American audiences and also our international audiences that perspective. And that's what I hope you saw that I've been bringing to our Canadian coverage, our Australia coverage, our European coverage, and our coverage in Africa too. I'm sure you've seen some of the coverage that we've done in various countries in Africa. And we're going to keep doing that here on the Midas Touch Network, thanks to your support. So if you like this international coverage, subscribe, and also check out all those channels that I highlighted here as well. That's one of the reasons why I put them in the video. Anyway, hit subscribe. Help us get to 5 million subscribers. We're grateful for you. We appreciate you. We love you. Have a wonderful day.
Double takedown.
Thanks.
Takedown.
Thanks. Good job. Help me! Help me! Help me! Help me!
First doom.
Help me!
Double takedown. Triple takedown.